Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
I mean, that fourth quarter, my heart rate changed in so many directions because at one point you thought, oh my God, the Patriots are going to win this game. And then you thought, oh, the Chiefs are going to win this game. There was that play, the kickoff, where it looked like Edelman touched it and then he didn't touch it. And then there was interception. And then there was the other interception after that one, which was overturned because of a penalty. I was freaking out.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
I'm Josh, normally in Toronto, but in Montreal today.
And I'm Skip, still in Montreal.
In today's episode, we preview Super Bowl 53.
We look at both teams' strengths and weaknesses.
And discuss some interesting prop bets.
But first, let's start with a recap of our preseason predictions.
Okay, Skip, so this is our annual Super Bowl preview. And as a special, I don't know if it's treat, I'm actually in Montreal to record this, which actually I've discovered it makes things more difficult when I'm here than when I'm 500 kilometers away.
We have such a good system down for when we're each in our own home. And then we throw in the fact that we're going to have a guest today.
We're going to have a guest today?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Well, since you let the cat out of the bag, yes, we are going to have a guest. We have like 3 episodes a year where we bring on a special guest. You know, one is the Super Bowl and one is March Madness and one is the NFL season preview.
Right.
And the guest I'm referring to, of course, is none other than Neil Schnurbach. So let's say hello. Neil, how are you?
I'm great, guys. How are you? See, I wasn't sure if I'm brought on because I'm a Patriots fan, because we've done 3 Super Bowl previews and the Patriots are always in the game, or if I'm the special Super Bowl guest. So I figure we'll see maybe next year if the Patriots aren't in the game. We'll see if you call me back.
Well, we had no choice to invite you because you invited yourself.
That's
on
true.
Twitter.
That's a good point.
So then we felt like, well, we have to invite him now, right?
Right, because when you tweeted it, the whole world saw it, and so we couldn't let down all our fans.
That's a good
but
point.
I see what Neil did there a minute ago. He took a shot at me because saying that the Patriots are always in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what he did there, sort of underhandedly.
That's a shot at you?
Yeah, because I don't like the Patriots.
Well, okay, whatever.
So anyway, actually, I did mention that Neil was on for our season preview, and you know what? It's such a long time ago. I don't remember any of our preseason predictions, but apparently we did well. Neil, what were your predictions?
Well, I didn't do well. I think Neil did well.
Okay, so Neil, what were some of your preseason predictions?
Yeah, I got to pat myself on the back here. I think for one, I did predict a Rams Patriots Super Bowl, so that's really why I wanted to talk about that. I think that was that was pretty clutch there.
And you were also very adamant that the Chiefs were going to be the biggest offense in the league, and you were definitely right on that. They were such a breakout season. Yeah. Yeah.
No question. Chiefs had a great season. Obviously, had the best offense in the league, and I did predict that there. Also said the Bears and the Seahawks would be playoff contenders, which I think was a little bit of an out there prediction at the beginning of the year. But Skip,
you're right. It doesn't seem like it now, because the Bears seem so good. But preseason, no one really was sure, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the day we recorded that podcast was the day that the Khalil Mack trade was happening.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So actually, one question, do you remember, because the favorite question I like to ask both of you at the beginning of the season is what last place team will vault up to first in their division? I don't remember what you guys said, though.
I think we were both right on. I think we both talked about the Texans on that one.
That's right.
Okay.
And that seemed like the obvious choice, yeah. So while Neil was correct with his...
But it was the right choice, so...
While Neil was correct with his Rams-Patriots prediction, I had the Eagles and Jaguars. So
way off.
So looking back now, I mean, the Eagles was more from the heart, and they were in the playoffs, and they were still a decent team. But I felt like the Jaguars were like 1 or 2 plays away from beating the Patriots last year they were 1 or 2 plays away from beating the Patriots last year in the championship game, and they just had a complete collapse this year. So
one thing if you recall, our first episode after the last Super Bowl, I think I said to you, the Eagles will not be back in the Super Bowl next year.
Well, you did say that.
I did say that.
Yeah.
So anyway, Neil, Skip and I already recapped the conference championships, but we haven't had a chance to talk to you. Which game do you want to talk about first?
I think let's talk about the NFC Championship a little bit first, because that game is driving me crazy just in terms of how the media has been spinning the game. Not even the media, all the players in the league and everyone just basically saying that the game was handed to the Rams, which, I mean, there's no doubt that was clearly a pass interference penalty on Nickel Roby-Coleman. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But at the same time, the Saints had an opportunity, right? They were still up 3 points with less than 2 minutes left in the game. They had an opportunity to stop the Rams, and they got the ball to start overtime. You know, everyone, if we want to shift over to the other game for a second, everyone's talking about how the overtime rules are so unfair because Tom Brady and the Patriots got the ball and Patrick Mahomes didn't get the ball. Well, the fact of the matter is the Saints, who had an amazing offense, also got the ball to start overtime, and they couldn't win. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit overstated to say that this game just came down to that one play. And
if that play, for example, had happened, if that play had happened in the first quarter, I don't think there would have been as much of an uproar as there is. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there were other factors that led to, you know, them losing the game. It wasn't just that one play.
Including Sean Payton's own play calling, because when they got the ball on that same drive as a pass interference on first down, they threw the ball, which already was like a questionable call, and Breeze made a terrible throw for an incompletion that stopped the clock, right? So, I mean, that actually changed the dynamic of, you know, how much time ended up being left when the Rams got the ball, because had they just ran the ball and got 1 yard there, you know, maybe the Rams don't win the game. Maybe they don't have enough time to get, I mean, as it is, they had to angle for like a really long field goal for Zerline, right?
Yep,
so,
exactly.
I mean, maybe they don't even get into field goal range. Maybe they don't have enough time. So, like, you can play what if forever, you know? So
I agree. And then also, even if you go the other, there were so many bad calls in that game the other way as well. If you remember the drive where the Rams kicked the field goal to tie the game at 20, there was a blatant face mask that was missed on Jared Goff. That would have been first and goal within the 1 yard line. The Rams probably should have been up 24-20, and the Saints should have been driving for a touchdown. So you could play what if going back all the way to the first quarter, like you say.
Yeah, I think the better team, the team that played better in the game, actually won the game. I don't think the Saints played well, and I think the Rams, although they started off slow, I think they played better. So
I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, and then the Patriots game.
Well, the only thing I want to say on this one is really I obviously, like I do every week, I listened to your podcast last week, and it surprises me, Cub, that you just don't appreciate this dynasty. Patriots always give you an exciting Super Bowl. There's someone for you to root against, and I'm surprised that you had such a visceral reaction to them.
Neil, when we got on the phone, me and Josh, to record that episode last week, I knew he was going to be upset because, like, I know he's not cheering for the Patriots, and I didn't care either way. But, like, Josh got on that call, and we do the call by video, so I could see his face. It was the end of the world. I was actually surprised at how upset you were. Like, you were so upset. It was incredible.
What the listeners don't know is at the beginning of that game, I don't know if it was before or maybe just after the Patriots got the first touchdown, you sent me a text message saying, by the way, the Patriots can easily win this game and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And my response to you was, save your vitriol for the show.
That's right.
So you're right, Neil. I mean, maybe I should give the Patriots a little bit more credit than what I'm giving them. Obviously, they're an excellent organization. I just don't like to see the same team over and over again. And Bill Belichick, I just would like to punch him in the head. That's all.
Well, he's definitely not a likable guy. There's no question. But, like, for myself, right, I was always a Boston Celtics fan. But by the 96, 97, 98 version of the Chicago Bulls, I had no choice but to be like, this guy's amazing. I'm just going to appreciate what I'm seeing because I might not ever see this again. I just feel like we're there with the Patriots, and they're almost at the end of their run.
So I'd like to look at this through the eyes of my son, who's 17 years old and who's a big football fan. But, you know, he only started following football when he was like 10 or 9, 8, I don't know what age. But when you go back and you look at that first Rams Super Bowl, the first Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, when Brady was basically a rookie, he was a baby, right? So his whole life of following the NFL, his entire existence of football fandom is the Patriots. Like they're all that's the team that he always expects to be in the Super Bowl, and more often not they are there, right?
Yeah, I mean we had that as kids with the 49ers, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Not to the same degree, right? And actually I'm glad you mentioned the 49ers. I mean in every era there's been a dynasty, right? So we've had like the Steelers dynasty of the 70s, and the 49ers are considered for the 80s, and then the Cowboys for the 90s, and then now we're with the Patriots for the last 18 years. But what the Patriots have done is far more incredible. They're the only team that's done a dynasty in the cap era, right? They're the only team that has constantly had to reshuffle their lineup and retool at their positions. You know, I remember I was a big 49ers fan, Neil, and the reason why that team was so good is they had guys on the bench who, like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, guys that didn't play, that could start for half the teams in the league. They had so much depth because the cap was not an issue, right? And the Patriots, and Steve Young as a back. I didn't even Joe Montana and Steve Young on the same team. That just goes to tell you all you need to know, right? So
yep. For sure.
Okay, so let's move on to next week's game, the Super Bowl. I think it's the 53rd Super Bowl.
Yeah, L11
between
L111
the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. So Neil, you're obviously a Patriots expert. Neither of us are Rams experts, but maybe we'll start talking about the Pats offensive line versus the Rams defensive line, and what is the recipe for beating the Patriots, if there is one?
Well, I think the recipe, aside from last year when it was basically just score more points, which I don't think is sustainable, to be honest, and probably won't happen this game. If you look at the two giant Super Bowls, or even the years where the Broncos beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship game, what you always would get is pressure with 4 men rushing, right? If you get pressure blitzing Brady, usually he can beat the blitz and find the hot receiver. But when you rush with 4 and can get to Brady, especially up the middle, the Patriots have trouble. I mean, we're talking about the two giant Super Bowls, really. And the Rams have an amazing defensive line, and I think what's going to work out best for the Rams is they have a great defensive line up the middle at tackle, right? So you got Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, who play defensive tackle positions, and so that should give the Patriots a little bit of trouble. The thing is, though, the Patriots' offensive line has been a real strength this year. David Andrews at center, and then they've got Tooney at guard, and Trent Brown's had an amazing season at left tackle, and Marcus Cannon is great as always, missing one lineman. I can't think of who, but in any event, their line has been a fantastic strength this year for the Patriots. So I do wonder whether the Rams will be able to get pressure with 4. But if they do, it could be a long day for Brady and the Pats.
Well, the last 2 weeks have shown us the recipe for success for the Pats. They have not allowed a sack in the last 2 games, right? And the Chargers have a formidable pass rush, and the Chiefs, I think, had the most sacks in the league this year, or top 2, 3.
They're tied.
I mean, they're not a great defense, but they have some great pass rushers. And Brady basically didn't have a scratch on him after the game last week, right? And you can't do that. And it's funny that you say there's going to be a lot of comparisons to like what the Eagles did last year, and you're right. It was all they did was match them score for score, basically. Which you're right, it's not sustainable. Because the Eagles' strategy as a defense is to rush with 4 because they have a good defensive line and try to get pressure without blitzing, which didn't work the entire game until the one play at the very, very end when they got the strip sack that they needed, and that's what changed the course of the game.
Right. I think the difference is, to go back to what you were saying, sorry if I can just add one more thing. If you look at the Chiefs, where they get their pressure is really from edge rushers, right? So you've got Justin Houston and Dee Ford who are coming around the edges. And the Patriots' tackles have been just fantastic this year. And Tom Brady throws it so quickly that it's hard to get pressure from the edges. But really, if you could get pressure up the middle, which is where Donald and Suh will get pressure, that could be much more disruptive than what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, Neil, as we know, Bill Belichick likes to change his game plan every single week. I guess maybe he changes it multiple times during the week, for all I know. And sometimes you'll see like this running back who no one's ever heard of rush for 150 yards. And other times, they like to pass a lot. So do you have any inkling as to what the Patriots are going to do this time around?
Yeah, I would think that it's going to be another heavy running game with Sony Michel, who was a first round pick this year. So it's not too surprising that you've seen him featured in the Patriots offense during the playoffs. Patriots running big game has been very strong this year, ranked ninth in rushing DVOA according to Football Outsiders. I know you love when I talk DVOA. And the Rams were last this year in yards per carry allowed and 28th in DVOA versus the run. DVOA, by the way, is defensive value over average. Their front four, which I said was very strong, is a little bit undersized. So you can run at Donald and you can run at Sue to a lesser extent, somewhat. And so I think that'll be the key, a big key to the game. And I do think there's going to be heavy run approach for the Patriots to start. Rex
I mean,
Burkhead,
they ran like over 45 times or 47 times last week, and I really expect the same thing this week.
Yeah, I agree, and especially the Patriots have good running backs. To go back to what Josh just said, Patriots running backs are really strong this year. You have Sony Michel, you have James White, who we're all familiar with, catching balls out of the backfield, and Rex Burkhead, who's sort of a hybrid where he can run the ball and catch the ball. And so I think you'll see Michel with 25 carries, maybe Burkhead with 10 more. A lot of rush attempts this game, I think, for the Patriots.
It's amazing to me that Burkhead became kind of their goal line back. I was surprised to see it in the short yardage situations. He seems to be their go-to guy. So
I think a lot of that, because Michel did still have 2 touchdowns last week and 3 the week before. I think it's just he ran the ball 29, 30 times last week, and I think they just wanted to kind of rest him by the end of the game and put the fresher guy in. So they had Burkhead running in short yardage situations.
You want to look at the other side of the ball and see like what are the Patriots going to do to the Rams offense, which is clearly one of the top offenses in the league. And specifically, like, do you know what's up with Todd Gurley? Does anybody know like what the story is with this guy?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Because after the game, Todd Gurley. So Gurley had been fighting a knee injury, as we know, I think toward the end of the season. But last week, he said he was perfectly healthy, and at the same time, the Rams used him. I think he touched the ball 5 or 6 times. Now, granted, those were some terrible touches, and it's as bad as Gurley has looked. I think he remember he had a ball that went through his hands for interception. He had another drop. He did run for 1 short touchdown, but he really wasn't doing much. And C.J. Anderson has been kind of a revelation, so maybe they just used him for that reason. But Gurley has been their best player all year, and the Patriots are not great at covering receivers out of the backfield catching balls. And that's not C.J. Anderson's game, and it is Todd Gurley's game. So I do wonder, is Gurley healthy? And if so, are they going to utilize him properly? Because I do think that could be a big factor in this game.
Right. I mean, for me, you listen to the podcast every week. Josh has heard me say it every week. I think the misconception of the Rams offense is that they're this hot, and because of the Chiefs' breakout year and that big 54-51 game, and it's like Goff versus Mahomes, and there's this perception that the Rams are this high-flying passing offense, when in reality they're a running offense, and most of their success on offense really revolves around Gurley, whether it being giving the ball or throwing them the ball, and that sets up all the receivers and the big plays, right? Because Goff has had great numbers, but it's all based off the run game, if you ask me, anyways.
No, I think you're 100% right on, because what they do when they make big plays in the passing game, it's really so much is off of play action.
Yeah.
So you have to have an effective Gurley, right? Because they have all the jet sweep, the fake jet sweep motions, but you have Gurley motioning one way, and sometimes Brandon Cooks running the other way, and then the defense is a bit confused, and then they throw the ball to the hot guy, Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp when he was healthy, and with an ineffective Gurley, you've seen kind of the last couple of weeks they've been a little bit more vanilla on offense than they were for most of the year. I think you're right; they need a strong running game, and they are a rushing team.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do? Like Josh always says.
No, so what I was going to say is most good teams in any sport, what they like to do is take away the opposing team's best weapon. Like if we're going to lose, we're going to make sure that their best player doesn't beat us. So can the Pats do that to the Rams, number one? And who is the Rams' best player?
Well, it's Gurley, but who knows? Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, is he going to touch the ball 2 times? Or, like, is he going to be effective? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question, right? I think it's exactly what you're saying here, Skip. If it's Gurley, will the Patriots defense focus completely on Gurley right now, knowing that he only touched the ball 6 times last game? Or is it more Robert Woods, who's a fantastic receiver? I think he had more than 1,400 receiving yards this year. Or Brandon Cooks, who the Patriots know well. He was obviously a part of that Patriots runner-up season last year, a big part of their offense. I actually feel like they're missing Brandon Cooks this year, but that's another story. And so how do they take away all these weapons? And then C.J. Anderson has really been a very good player since the Rams picked him up. So it's kind of, what do the Patriots focus on? And I think their defensive game plan actually will not be to focus on Todd Gurley because he's been a little bit ineffective. And I think what they're going to do is probably double cover both Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks, and then potentially start with linebackers like Kyle Van Noy or Hightower, maybe to cover Gurley out of the backfield. But if Gurley is at full health, that's probably not a good strategy, and I'm sure they can. The Rams will take advantage of that.
Right, that guy Van Noy has been very effective the last 2 weeks. You've noticed him on the field a lot. For a guy that I hadn't really heard of. Yeah, he's a good player.
But the thing is, he's not great in coverage. He's good at rushing the passer. He's pretty strong in the run game. He's got some quicks, but he has a little bit of trouble covering running backs out of the backfield. We saw that last week against Damian Williams. I think Damian Williams had one big touchdown catch against Van Noy, and there was another play fairly early in the first half where Van Noy was covering Damian Williams out of the backfield, and Patrick Mahomes just sort of overshot Williams by a couple of yards, but Williams was wide open for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. So, just changing the subject for a second, this is the second year in a row that the Patriots are playing against a former Patriot in the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Who was it last year? LeGarrette Blount, right, was on the Eagles?
I believe so, yeah.
He was, yeah.
So, was there someone else? Oh, and
Chris Long. Yeah.
Exactly. So that there were two. And yeah, this time they've got, well, Aqib Talib is a former Patriot as well.
That's right. Aqib Talib.
Although, yeah, he never made a Super Bowl with the Patriots actually, but he was he kind of resurrected his career actually when the Patriots traded for him. If you remember, he was a kind of a first round bust with the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah.
And was seen as kind of a cancer in the locker room. And then the Patriots picked him up and he became really a phenomenal player, and then went on to Denver and now with the Rams. But in reality, yeah, the guy you're talking about obviously is Brandon Cooks, who's the Patriots traded in the offseason for a first round pick, which first round pick was, by the way, Isaiah Wynn, who was who was supposed to be their left tackle, and he got hurt right away.
Right. They miss Cooks because they really don't have. They're really so thin at receiver. It's unbelievable.
Well, the Josh Gordon suspension really hurt, right? Josh Gordon was basically the Brandon Cooks replacement. But if you look at the Patriots receivers right now, yeah, you've got Edelman, who does his Edelman things. Chris Hogan has not had a good season on the outside.
Philip Dorsett,
player, but he's really a number 3, number 4 receiver. There's no great receiver on the outside, and even Gronkowski has really slowed down. He looked good last week, but this has been his worst season since his rookie year, like by far. Especially
he's not
catching
a game breaker anymore. He's not a game breaker anymore as a receiver. He just can't get open. Like when you watch him run, he's like he looks like a kind of robotic. He doesn't even look like a real person. Who knows like what parts of his body are real or been fixed up, and what kind of medical treatments he's had on the different parts of his body to just get him into playing shape.
Yeah, no question. I actually watched a replay of the Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl a couple days ago, and it's amazing the difference in Gronkowski. Right, he was matched up against KJ Wright, a pretty quick linebacker, beating him right off the line of scrimmage. Whereas today, I think KJ Wright would just drape him.
But he's still effective on the play that they used last week for the big play that they needed him, which is like a jump ball, right? If you can get him in the right coverage, everybody, no matter who he's against, it's a smaller player, and if it's a physical fight for the ball, I like his chances of coming down with it, so.
No, Neil, I'm sure you can answer this question, but when Josh Gordon got suspended at the time, I think he was leading the team in receiving yards. And then some people were saying, well, what are the Patriots going to do now? But I think they've actually played better since he's not been on the team. And did they lose a game since they lost him?
That is a good question. I think they did lose a game. Ooh, that is a good question, right? Because Josh Gordon
Well,
was
they lost the game against Miami on the Miami Miracle, right?
Yeah, I think Gordon was active for that game because I remember thinking, why do they have Gronkowski back there instead of Josh Gordon? But he might have been
Ah,
suspended by the next week against the Steelers, and they lost that game as well.
okay.
But I don't remember 100%. But your point is well taken, Josh, because the Patriots offense has really started to do even better without Gordon. I think it's really been the emphasis on running the ball.
Yeah.
Sony Michel has been fantastic the last few weeks of the season, as well as in the playoffs. And they've been using Gronkowski, just to get back to that topic, as a run blocker. And he's had tremendous results as a run blocker. I think if Gronkowski put on 40 pounds, he could be a dominant offensive lineman in the NFL, to be quite honest.
I just don't think he's durable enough. He'd miss every second snap, right?
Yeah, for sure. You're 100% right. But the fact is, he's been great in the run blocking game, and so I think that's why the Patriots offense has done better. But they still do kind of miss a game-changing receiver, and it may come back to haunt them in the Super Bowl game.
Right. All right. So we're gonna do predictions for the game in a sec, but before we get to that, I did a little bit of research actually this morning, and I got some prop bets. Some are on the wacky side, some are just normal kind of stuff. So there's some weird stuff here. Well, first of all, Super Bowl MVP. I mean, obviously Tom Brady is the favorite, and then Goff is next. But aside from those two, if you had to try to pick an MVP, who if not Brady or Goff, who else would be the MVP of this game?
Sure. I think let's take one from each side. I think
Yeah.
Rams win the game. I say Aaron Donald could be MVP. This guy could be he'll probably be the defensive player of the year. I don't really see any competition there, and he could be extremely disruptive. Might have 2 or 3 sacks and force a fumble. So that wouldn't surprise me.
That could be like a Von Miller situation, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then for the Patriots, I could see Sony Michel being the game's MVP because I really do feel like they're going to run the ball 25, 30 times, and he could go for, if they have a great game, he could go for 130 to 150 with a couple of touchdowns. So that wouldn't surprise me either.
You want to make a pick, Josh? Or not?
No, I mean, like if I had the option and I'm running the office pool at my office, and the choices for this is it's Brady or Goff or the rest of the field, I'm going to take the rest of the field.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the only other one that popped out at me, I agree with you about Aaron Donald. I think it's a good shout. And then if it's someone else on the Patriots, I think it would be Michel. Like, let's say he has 180 yards rushing, right? I mean, how is he not going to be the MVP? The only other one that and you can get big odds is CJ Anderson. I'm thinking, like, what if CJ Anderson has like 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, like, and they just can't stop him and they have this power run game. That was the only other outside chance that I kind of looked at. Anyways,
I actually like that pick, right? Because CJ Anderson has been dominating touches. I was surprised to see it in the NFC Championship game, but since we just saw it last week, would it be that shocking if CJ Anderson is the lead back in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's not, right? Yeah. So over under 37.5. How many pass attempts will Tom Brady have in the game?
Oh, I thought you were going to say over under points for the game.
No.
It's going to be way over 37.
No, how many times will he throw? More than 37 or under 37?
I'll let Neil take that one first.
Yeah, I would say under, which might be surprising, but I would say under. If the Patriots are to win this game, I think Brady has to be under 37.5.
Yeah, gun to my head, I'd say under, but like actually looking at it, I think the number is exactly right, and it's like very, very difficult to like handicap that one.
Yeah, they're good at making these numbers, but I would also have to go under if I had to pick.
Yeah, you're right. If he's throwing 40 times, they're probably in trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the Vegas Knights are playing the day before against the Florida Panthers. So is Marc-Andre Fleury going to make more saves than the number of points that the Rams will score? This is an actual bet you could do.
I'm going to say the Rams are going to score more points than saves that Fleury makes.
What if Fleury could easily have a 40 save night?
Yeah, that doesn't happen that often.
But he's going to for sure get 30. 30 is like it's like it's safely to say that he's going to get 30 saves. And are the Rams for sure going to get 30 points?
I think they will.
Yeah. I would take the saves there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the advanced hockey metrics in a while. But if I recall, the Panthers, I think, are fairly high in terms of actually shooting the puck and in terms of Corsi. And so I think
here we go. We had DVOA, now we have Corsi. There we go.
I think they shoot the puck a lot. So I think I might take the under on that.
Now there's a similar bet in that the Warriors are playing the Lakers also the night before. So who's going to have more points? Steph Curry or the Patriots?
I mean, the Warriors are so multifaceted now, right? They have so many guys who could score. I think the safer bet is just to take the Patriots because you could see Steph Curry scoring like 20, 22 points.
Yeah, I agree with that. Although you never know. He could hit 10 threes in a row and then you're screwed, right?
Yeah, for this one, again, I'm expecting a high-scoring game in the Super Bowl, so
Yeah.
I'm going to take Patriots over Steph Curry.
Very nice. I love it. Now, we've got some weirder ones. Now, first of all, for all the degenerate gamblers out there,
Which we're three of them.
Well, we're not, but now obviously you can bet on the coin toss.
Yes.
Now, I always ask the same question in my mind: which one's favored? What kind of odds can I get? And it's 50-50. But you can bet on which team will win the toss. And just a little note that last year heads was correctly called by the Patriots, who went on to lose the game, and that heads call by the Patriots broke the streak of 4 straight tails wins in the Super Bowl. In case anyone is keeping track out there.
Clearly, you've done some research. I want to let the listeners know about a little sort of secret/trick.
Yeah.
Because there are certain websites that will take bets up until the kickoff.
Right.
And so the thing is, though, the coin toss happens, and then there's a few minutes after the coin toss before the kickoff. And one of the bets you can place is which team will be the first team to get a first down. And so what you should do is wait to see who wins the coin toss, wait to see who says they're taking the ball first.
And then place your bet right away.
Place your bet on the first down right away before kickoff happens.
That was the public service announcement right there.
It's just a public service announcement.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
That was a good one.
Okay, so we've done a lot of talking about Tony Romo the last few weeks. How many plays will Tony Romo correctly predict during the game? And just to tell you, he was 12 for 15 last week, and the over-under is 7.5. So I would definitely say over, based on past performance.
I mean, I agree with you, actually, because if you look at, he was right in overtime on the Patriots play calls. It's seemingly every single play.
Yeah.
So I think he knows what the Patriots are going to do. So
Yeah.
I would take the over on 7.5.
Right.
So you know what?
Well, by the way, I think he's just fantastic. Probably
Josh doesn't love him.
color
Josh is coming
it's
around on
dramatic.
him. Yeah, Josh is coming around on him. But I like him because he's so fresh. For our whole lives, we've kind of had John Madden was the only one that came out of the mold of this straight-laced color commentator. Otherwise, they're all the same. And then all of a sudden, this Tony Romo guy shows up, and he's such a breath of fresh air.
So our last show, I didn't mention this, but I meant to say to you that, because Romo was so good at predicting all this stuff, I was going to say to you, I'm surprised he retired when he did, because I'm sure teams would have wanted him to play quarterback because he's better than some of the quarterbacks that are playing now.
There were some rumors last year.
And then this week, a story came out that there were a couple teams that offered him a job this year.
I'm sure.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Neil?
I don't remember, but to follow up on that point, I was thinking during the game last week, I was like, I wish the Patriots would sign Romo as their backup quarterback because clearly he knows the entire playbook.
Right, he'd be perfect. He could step right in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, how many times in the broadcast will Jim Nantz and Tony Romo mention the age of 33-year-old Sean McVay? And the over/under right now is 1.5.
Oh, I love the over.
You love the over, me too. I think so.
I think I like the over on that as well.
And I don't know if you saw this, Josh. We didn't talk about this because it's something that we normally would text about, and I don't know if you saw it also. But the Rams have this guy. His name is Ted Rath. He's an assistant coach, and it seems like his sole job during the game is to keep Sean McVay from running onto the field.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen this video?
I haven't.
So there's a video of this assistant coach. And all he does during the game is he touches Sean McVay, or he pulls him back, and he's like, "Get off, watch your steps, coach. Get off the field, coach. Not too close, coach. Back off, coach. Back off, coach." In the last game, he told him 10 times not to, he's just warning him not to run on the field. That's this guy's job. So you can actually bet on how many times the broadcast will mention this guy Ted Rath, and there's over under, which is 3.5, but I mean, to me it's got to be under.
I'm going to have to say under.
They're going to only mention it once, and that's it.
I agree. It's going to be once. They're going to mention it once, unless McVay tries to run onto the field blatantly. But I think it's going to be one time.
All right, so prediction time.
Well, I'm not going first.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah, go for it.
I definitely have the Patriots winning the game. And this, do I have to pick a score? I guess I have to pick a score, right?
Why not?
I would say 27-21. That's my score. What about you, Neil? I guess you have the Patriots also?
I'm a bit torn, right? Because preseason, in the preseason Skip and Josh podcast, I did pick the Rams to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But I actually think the Patriots are playing better ball than the Rams at this point in the season.
I think so too.
And I'm a bit of a homer, of course. So I'm going to say Patriots. I think they win the game 27-24. I think it's probably a little bit lower scoring maybe than some are thinking. I think it'll be another great game.
And Josh, you got the Rams 60-0?
No. I'm gonna go Rams 30-27. Rams.
Wow, it's a close game.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so where are you guys watching the game?
I don't know yet, actually.
I'm not 100% sure either. You, Neil?
Yeah, I think I'm watching at home. Usually when the Pats play, I watch at home. Also, my older brother is something of a Rams fan. So he's going to be coming over to watch with me, and maybe I'll have a couple other guys come over. Usually I'm so intense when the Patriots play that I don't like having too many people, but I think I'll have a few people over.
I hear you. All right.
Well, thanks again, Neil, for coming on our show once again. And the March Madness is coming up in less than 2 months, so we will have you back for sure for that. But certainly to you and all our listeners, enjoy the Super Bowl. Hope you get some good snacks and enjoy the overhyped commercials as well.
Beautiful.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Thanks, Neil. Before we sign off, I want to remind everyone that to make sure that you never miss an episode of the Skip and Josh podcast, please subscribe either on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google, iHeartRadio, and of course Spotify. And if you listen via Apple Podcasts, please make sure to leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. We're on Twitter @skipandjosh, or you can like and follow our Facebook page. As always, the links to everything I just said is on our website, skipandjosh.com.
We leave you with this.
Josh, normally we end the show with some little what we call the "we leave you with this" segment. Last week or the week before, I didn't have anything and you had one.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have one today, but I've got something that I wanted to mention last time, and it actually falls into the category of what bugs me, but we're going to leave it for this segment. And it's sort of related to the Super Bowl because there was something that came out last week that was really it grinded my gears so badly. I don't know when it started, but what is this business of calling everyone's group of fans a nation? What the hell is this?
It started, I think, with Red Sox Nation 10 years ago.
The first time, yes! Oh my God, you read my mind. The first time I ever heard it was early 2000s, around the time the Red Sox won, well, I was going to say their first World Series, but their first World Series in 100 years. That was the first time I heard it, Red Sox Nation. But I heard it this week with the Saints because there's this crackerjack that has a lawsuit in the state of Louisiana against the NFL, and they're calling because at one point the Saints fans had this chant, this slogan, "Who dat?" Right? It was it was from a million years ago. It was before the Drew Brees era. So they called the Saints fans. Did you know they're called the Who Dat Nation?
Yeah, I did. I think I did hear a little bit about this week, but I do understand what you're saying. And yeah, I've never used the term nation to describe I'm a big Duke fan. I've never once said Duke Nation. Never. Until just now. I mean, and I think there's some fan bases that can get away with it. I feel like Red Sox Nation is okay. I hear some people talking here in Montreal, there's Habs Nation, or in hockey, and maybe in your city, there's Leafs Nation. There is Leafs Nation.
There is Leafs Nation.
I've heard that a lot.
I can deal with those, but the Who Dat Nation? That I can't get my head around.
It's the Who Dat part that bothers me.
It's like any fan base has become a nation now, right?
Yeah.
Do they elect a president? What's the story?
They probably do.
Do they have a constitution?
They probably do.
There's a lot of questions around the nation of fandom. But anyways, I just wish it would stop, honestly. I really just wish it would stop.
Okay, well, we'll try and stop it now.
Okay, good.
And get everyone else to stop doing it.
Perfect. All right, enjoy the Super Bowl. I'll talk to you next week.
You too.
Okay.